Hey, it's Marlene. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate the simplicity as well as some of the pitfalls of using automatic focus stacking on the LUMIX S1 Mark II. But I'm also going to show you some beautiful scenery around Abraham Lake in Alberta. All right, let's go. Abraham Lake in central Alberta is famous for its methane bubbles, which form in the ice in winter when the lake freezes over. Because it's so windy there, when it snows, it doesn't cover the lake. It blows off quickly, so you get clear ice, and you can see the bubbles a couple of feet below the surface. But don't worry, the ice was thick enough for us to walk on and to practice focus stacking with those methane bubbles. So what brought me here? Well, I was a student in Monica Deviat's Abraham Lake Bubbles workshop. Yes, I still take workshops, and this is my second of Monica's workshops I've attended in less than a year. I love meeting other photographers who are interested in the same subjects I am, and I love having my experience planned out so that all I have to do is worry about photography. Our crew got out at sunrise and sunset for 3 days and even did some astrophotography. Luckily, the temperatures were not as bitterly cold as a couple of weeks ago, so yes, it was still windy and cold, but manageable if you're dressed for it. Monica suggested that we try focus stacking so that we would get our very close foreground bubbles and the background mountain landscape all in focus. So what is focus stacking? Well, in simple terms, it's the complete opposite of bokeh. The focus stacking technique involves taking several photos at different focus points in your scene from front to back or back to front, and then combine them or stack them in Photoshop to get a final image that is in focus all the way through. Because the bubbles are inches from the camera, the depth of field range, even with a wide-angle lens, is not enough to get everything in focus, even when you're stopped down to f16 or f22. So that's when you'd use focus stacking. Let's have a look at the automatic focus stacking feature in the LUMIX S1 Mark II. Now, if you don't have this camera, you can still learn something, so stick around. Okay, let's set this up on the LUMIX S1 Mark II. I go into the camera settings menus and I go down to the second last choice. And second from the top, you see focus stacking. So when you click that, you have 3 things you need to set up here. And one of them is the steps, and that has to do with how deep it goes into the image. The second one is the image count. With the steps, you have up to 10 steps. So I picked 5, somewhere in the middle, and I suggest you experiment with what works best for you. And in terms of image count, you can go up to 99. I chose 12 images originally, and that was, I feel, too many. So again, depending on the scene, you will have to experiment with how many images you want in your stack. When you're happy with your setup, you can do a shutter delay if you want. So when you're ready to go, hit start. And it will start taking photos as soon as you press the shutter button. I'm not sure it'll work here. There we go. 8 photos, and then it says focus stacking in progress. So it develops the image in camera, it combines them. This is an image that I took at the lake, which is stacked. It's got 8 photos. And if you want to see the individual photos, you can see this symbol here. You push the down arrow and you can cycle through each of the images. So as you can tell here, it's going through image 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will just cycle through all of those images. Now, if you go to the next image in the series, you can see that it is cropped a bit. Here, I'll take off this display here so you just see the image. So this is the stacked images, all the individual files, and this is the result. This is the JPEG that was created from this stack of images. Now you can see that it is cropped a bit because when you stack images, you will lose some of the edges of your original composition. So make sure that you give yourself a little bit more breathing room if you can. Now, my widest angle lens was 18 millimeters, and I wished I'd had something like a 14 so that I could get a bit more breathing room than I had. But that's something to keep in mind. So when you go back to stacking menu, you will actually keep stacking your images until you push the Q button, which is here. It says end. So when you push that, the next photos you take will not be stacked. They'll just be normal photos. And that's all there's to it. So you go into the menu, you choose focus stacking, you set up your scene, and you hit stack, and it will automatically stack for you. You can manually stack your images, but you will not get a resulting JPEG from that. You only get the automatic stacking if you go through this menu on your LUMIX. Now here is the but. Even though the focus, stacking, capture, and assembly is automatic, the resulting image is only a JPEG. So if you wish to do focus stacking on the S1 Mark II, you will still likely need to edit your RAW files and then stack those files in Photoshop, just as if you shot your series of photos manually, like all the other photographers. Yes, you'll save some time shooting the series, but you won't in the end unless you get lucky and your JPEG is a perfect result. None of mine were. Now, I had better results when I did my stacking in Photoshop. I did my usual image editing of each frame in Lightroom and then exported the series to Photoshop layers. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate stack editing in this video, but I will put a link to the Photoshop tutorial in the video description below. It's called Create a Composite with Extended Depth of Field. Things to look out for when viewing your stacked image. Watch out for changes in the size of objects when you're at different focus points in your stack of images. When your stacked files are combined, look closely for anomalies like soft areas or misalignment. And look for ghosting, especially with moving objects or people. Now, I'm not super happy with my results, and that's down to me. I think I spent more time dealing with the technical aspect of stacking images rather than the creative. I think my compositions could have been much better, and my favorite photos don't even contain any bubbles. I think I could have done better. However, I had a great time. I loved the area, and I really enjoyed being in a dark sky area. And I loved practicing my astrophotography again because I don't get a chance to do that very much. So that was, to me, the bonus of the weekend. If you photograph the bubbles on Abraham Lake, make sure you practice proper safety precautions. Check the thickness of the ice yourself with at least a 6-inch drill before getting too far onto the lake. You also need to watch for thin ice areas and water on the surface of the ice, especially if the temperature goes above freezing. Now, there is no cell service in the area, so an inReach or other satellite phone is also recommended. It is usually windy there, so dress in proper winter gear. Take hand and foot warmers, face coverings, and wear micro spikes on your boots. It is extremely slippery. I also wore knee pads under my snow pants, and they not only allowed me to slide around comfortably when shooting at low angles, they kept my knees warm too. The nice thing about going with an expert photo guide like Monica is that she's very safety conscious and briefed us before we ventured onto the ice. And she also carries a satellite phone with her in case of emergency. Photos and clips were taken with the LUMIX S1 Mark II, the Insta360 Ace Pro 2, and some were supplied by the other participants in the workshop. I hope you enjoyed this video and the scenery, and if you'd like to head out to Abraham Lake, there's lots of accommodation in Nordegg, And we stayed at the Expanse Cottages, which are just lovely. Thanks for watching.